Scheduler view. ShiftCare has a really powerful roster and scheduling functionality, and I'm going to walk you through some of the tips and tricks that you can use to roster your staff and clients accordingly. The view that we're looking at here is visible by clicking on the Scheduler menu icon. And this is typically the landing page for when you first log in to ShiftCare as well. So we'll start from the top down. Across the top, we have our filter functions. So this is going to change the view that you have for the scheduler. And there's a couple of different ways that you can look at the data depending on what you're trying to achieve and the task that you have at hand. First of all, we have the ability to change from staff and client view. So right now I've got staff selected and I can see my staff down this side, and then all of my shifts that I have available for those staff based on by client in the actual calendar. And then I can switch that around to client down the left-hand side and staff on this side. So really functional for seeing who is available where. And one of the reasons that we do it like this is that you have the ability to drop and drag shifts. So for example, I've got my clients down this side here, and I can see that for Harriet, I've got no staff member selected. So if I jump across to my staff view, I can see that shift for Harriet up the top there with no staff member selected. If I want, I can just grab this shift here by clicking on it, and then I can drag it down to, say, for example, Penny. If I've been successful in dragging that shift down, it will do what it's done now and change to this light blue color, and we'll get our notification that pops up in the top left-hand corner. If there's any errors for what I've just done, the shift will stay red, and then when I click on the shift, at the top, it will tell me what the error is and how I can go about fixing it as well. Across from that, we have our status filter. So as you can see on the roster, we have different colors for the different statuses of the shift. So job board is purple, and we'll talk about that in a second. Red is pending, meaning that there's something that needs attention for that shift. Like I just showed, you can click on the shift and it will tell you exactly what it is. We've got cancelled shifts here in the yellow. Booked shift is just a standard ready to go shift. Approved means that the timesheet has been approved. Once a timesheet's been approved, the shift is locked, so you can't make any changes until you unapprove that timesheet. And just like timesheets, invoiced is the same thing. So you can see down here, I've got this timesheet and invoiced approved shift. So that shift is then locked. If I want to look at all of my pending shifts, or if I want to look at all of my cancelled shifts, I can just change that filter and it shows me that there as well. Moving along, I've got all shift types. So each shift type has its own custom type. You can change those to suit your business requirements. There are some defaults in the ShiftCare platform, but you can come across here and you can see that I've added examples like bar and cafe, or support coordination, or SIL, for example. If I want to filter to just look at my, say, support coordination calls, I could select that and then see all of my support coordination calls that are there as well. Coming across, I've got shift count versus alphabetical order for sorting the shifts. So I've got shift count at the moment, so it pushes all of the staff or clients that have shifts to the top. But if I change it to A to Z, you can see here that it just spreads it out a little bit wider. That shift before that I moved from vacant shift down to Penny. So for Harriet, this one here, that's just telling me here that I have to notify that carer about that change. Any changes that I make like that, so if I move Jeff from John to Jess, you can see here that it's adding another notch to that. And then as soon as I've finished making my changes, all I do is click that green button and all those carers will be notified about those shift changes. The Today button is just going to move the roster back to the current day, week, or fortnight that we're viewing. So I'll just skip forward a couple of weeks to show you how that works. So we're now looking at the 18th, If I bring back and click on the today, it'll bring us back to our current week. We have the calendar function, so I can skip forward to a specific period in time, skip forward or back. And then we have just the back and forward arrows to move us back and forward sequentially. Over on the right-hand side, we have a way to filter the view by daily. So we can see it broken down by hours, weekly, which is what we were looking at before, fortnightly. And then one of the more powerful views that we have is tabular. And so if I click on tabular and then we'll just click on today, this is showing me all of the shifts that I have in a more data-driven format. What this is really powerful for is to come in here and see when my staff members have clocked in and clocked out, whether they've added the required kilometers and expenses or progress notes. It's really powerful for managing day-to-day, as well as managing performance from your carers from the perspective of if I wanted to look at all shifts not having progress notes, I can go ahead and look at that, and then I can reach out to these staff members to get them to update those progress notes. So a really, really powerful tool there. Jumping back away from tabular, over on the very far corner, we have the ability to create a new shift. So there's multiple ways to create a shift. I can just click anywhere on the on the scheduler, and it will create a shift for me, or I can just click this button up here and it will also do the same thing. And then the three dots will allow me to export this in a data format, so in a CSV format, and then I'll be able to also manage unavailability. So managing unavailability is really powerful to be able to make sure that you aren't rostering carers on when they shouldn't be rostered on. If you have this function turned on in the settings, then the carers will also be able to add their unavailability into the roster. The difference between the administration view versus the carer view is that you can set a minimum period of time or minimum notice period that carers have to give to submit unavailability, i.e. it could be 15 days, meaning that if you do your rosters every fortnight, they have to give you a fortnight's notice. So you should really have plenty of notice to make sure that you're not rostering someone when they shouldn't be rostered on. Some other functionalities of the scheduler view is the ability to search via individual staff, client, or team. So teams is a powerful function within ShiftCare. You can create teams based around a client or a skill set or a location or a skill, a role. So you can see the different teams that I have here. So if I was to filter by Eric's team, I would then see Jose and Neil, who are the two people in Eric's team. Really, really powerful, that Teams function, and it gets used in a few other places within the ShiftCare platform. A couple of other things to look at here. Down the left-hand side, whether I've got staff or clients, I can see here the number of hours that a staff member or a client is rostered on for. On the staff member's profile, I can set the maximum number of daily and weekly hours that they can be rostered on for. It's not going to stop you from rostering over those hours, i.e. going into overtime, but it will give you a warning message just to let you know that that is happening. And then you can see that individual days and weeks total from there. It's the same when I flick to the client view. There's the ability just to see those hours that are rostered on there as well. Jumping back into staff, I can click on the staff member's name and it will give me a quick overview of their demographics. And if I click on view more, it will take me through to the staff profile. Same process for the clients as well. And then if I click on the three dots, I've got some shortcuts that will take us through to different pages within the ShiftCare platform. That's the same for clients. So if I click on the three dots, I've got the same functionality in there. And then I've also got the ability to just quickly add an expense for a client in there as well. While we're on the client page, you can see next to Eric, the client here, I have this little eye with a line through it. That is what we call private information. On the client's profile, I can put the comment that you can see there, doesn't like to work with Penny. This is an example of private info. I can put that onto their profile. And if I'm doing the rostering, this is only visible to administration staff. So I can jump in there and say, all right, I know that Jose and Neil are part of Eric's team, but I definitely shouldn't roster Eric on with Penny if either of those aren't available. A couple of other features of the roster scheduler is job board. So the ability for you to publish a shift to a job board. You can set a criteria either by teams, so I can publish it to a specific team, I can publish it to everyone, or I can publish it based on skill set or distance or language spoken. That's really powerful because if you get a shift that's cancelled at short notice, instead of having to ring around and find out who's available, I can just broadcast that job to everyone that meets the criteria, and then I can have it either that the first person to accept that job gets it, or like this one that I've got here, I can have multiple people apply for the job and then I can select the best person for it. Hopefully that run through of the scheduler has been helpful. As always, if you do have any questions around the platform and using the scheduler, you can jump into our help center, which by clicking the help center here, and search for anything relating to what you're looking for. And then all of the articles that are relevant to that will come up. And if you get really stuck, you can use the chat function in the bottom left-hand corner and speak to our support team live.